Welcome to The Fish Bowl, a podcast by veterans for veterans. For more information, go to friendsinserviceofheroes.org to help or donate. 100% of donations go back to the veteran community. Now, here's your host, Jesse Reed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural podcast for Friends in Service of Heroes, affectionately known as FISH. I am your host, Jesse Reed, former Navy fighter pilot, F-18 pilot, and the goal of this show is going to be to tell you about our organization, FISH, and more importantly, to share some veteran stories with the viewers and the listeners out there. But before we can do that, we have to go through how this place came about, how FISH came about. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the founder of FISH here, Mr. Paul.
Hey, man. Hey, Jesse. Good morning.
Yeah. So obviously we've been talking a long time, and we're gonna tell the folks here about FISH here. But we've been talking a long time about getting a podcast together so we can bring awareness to what it is that we do here at FISH. And so I'd like you to just start off here and just tell the people a little bit about how FISH came about and how we got started on this mission here.
How did FISH even begin? Goes way, way back, Jesse. So I'm in the grocery industry. I still am today. So it all started, shortly after 9/11. I started wondering, what can I do? I felt like I was sitting on the sidelines. Our country had just been attacked. I know you, as a Navy veteran, aviator, Top Gun pilot, you were already in, I believe, right, when 9/11 happened.
So I was actually a senior at the Naval Academy, and that was actually a pretty interesting story to be watching as a senior, knowing you're going to graduate soon. To watch, it's like anything that's a monumental event in your life. You remember exactly what you're doing when it happened. And I remember standing in the hallways in an academic class, basically hallway at the Naval Academy campus, and just watching it all happen with about 500 other people just in complete silence staring. And I remember one of the students next to me, I'd never met him in my life, standing right next to me, and we're just looking at the TV, and he goes, I think we're going to war after we graduate. And he was right.
Right.
Yeah.
And there you were, knowing full well that was the next step in your life. And when that second building crumbled, I just felt like I needed to do something. 3 days after the attack, I get a call from my baby sister saying, hey, Rosemary was at the Pentagon. Rosemary was a family member of mine that she was going to be retiring, but had to be in there in that building to check on the person that was replacing her. And so, it took me a long time to figure out what I could do as an old guy, having never served, but I had to find a way to serve somehow.
Yeah.
And it all started by feeding our troops. So my wife and I ended up feeding some of our troops locally. I mean, just dropping off food at the local National Guard unit. But then in 2009, when I started my publication, I started it because I wanted to do something more.
Yeah.
Didn't know what that was. Didn't know what it looked like, Jesse, at all. Yeah. And at my first event, I called it the Retail Patriot event in 2009. It was in Washington, D.C. at the Marriott Wardman.
Uh-huh.
And at that same hotel, the military was having an electronic global war symposium and an Old Crow Society meeting. Old pilots, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the coffee shop there at the Marriott, having a cup of coffee 3 hours before my event. And I'm saying a prayer. I'm praying because I didn't know if people understood what my Retail Patriot event was really about. I wanted to honor retailers that were going above and beyond to support our troops and first responders. And as I finish my prayer and I get up, out of nowhere, this voice says, "Sir, are you okay?" I look around. I see a guy in uniform. Yeah, I'm okay. Couldn't help but notice, but it looked like you were praying. Well, I was. I got this event 3 hours, and I hope people show up. He said, what's the event about? Well, I'm honoring retailers that support. Wait a minute. Why are you wearing a uniform? And he says, well, we have these two events going on, and I'm the XO for the guy in charge of the Electronic Global War Symposium. I went, seriously? So this is what you're doing, God. Okay, you send me somebody. By any chance, what's your name? Williams. Okay, so Williams, do you know who's in charge? Like I said, sir, I'm the XO to the guy in charge. This is crazy. Would you mind introducing me to this guy? Because I want to invite you. Why? Because it's about honoring you guys. And he took my business card and made some phone calls and calls me back over as Chapa, let's go. And so as we're walking down this aisle, the hallway to this big ballroom, he says, "Get ready, sir, because there's 1,200 of us here." I went, "Oh, wow."
So wait, you were walking on stage to go talk to 1,200 people?
No, I was walking on stage to go meet this colonel.
Okay.
Forgive me. Meet this colonel, the guy in charge.
Okay.
And so I meet this Colonel Marshall, call sign Hooker,
Uh-huh.
a Prowler pilot.
Don't ever
Hooker
ask
Denny.
somebody about their call sign.
Right. Hooker Denny.
At least it's got to be over a whiskey and in private.
Exactly. So I walk up to this guy, and there's uniforms, Jesse, from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it was pretty amazing. And for someone that had never served, I was like in awe and a little intimidated because I'm being walked to the front of the line to meet this guy who was in charge, right? And this Major Boots Williams stops. "Colonel, you must be Mr. Chapa." I went, "Yeah, I'm Mr. Chapa." This colonel says, "Oh, what time's your event?" I said, 5:30. 17:30? 17:30, no 5. "Oh, yeah, I had 12." And everyone erupted in laughter.
Paul Chapa didn't know military time yet, did he?
No military. Yeah, I didn't know military time. Never served or anything like that. But sure enough, at 17:30, this colonel walks into my event, the Retail Patriots event, with 22 other officers. And that night, my friendship with him began. A year later, he invites me and my wife to a Marine Corps ball in Corpus Christi, Texas, MATSAC 22. And at the head table, front of the table, main table, there I sat. I'd never been at a main table anything, Jesse. But here I was at the main head table with the 2-star general, Joe Galloway, who wrote the books "We Were Soldiers Once and Young."
Yes.
All the spouses, my wife. And the general says, "So, Paul, I understand you're in the grocery industry." "That's right. I'm in the publishing industry within the grocery industry. So, you like food?" I went, "Sir, I got an idea." "What?" "I would like to come to your house." "You mean my quarter?" "Quarter? Where I live." "Why is it called a quarter?" That's another story, Jesse. I'll never figure that out. Nickel, dime, whatever. "Okay, I'll come to your quarter. And I got a buddy that's a famous chef. We'll come to your quarter, do a fancy dinner." I like the sound of that. But Colonel Denny tells me that colonels and general officers in the Marine Corps are treated like royalty. So I want to do something different. "Well, what do you want to do?" "I want to invite enlisted Marines and sailors and their spouses." And it got real quiet. And my wife puts her hand under the table on my lap and taps my knee like, "Nice try, honey."
Gotcha.
You know that, right? You know what that's like. "Nice try, honey." And the general looks at me and says, "Paul, I know you didn't serve, but, it's against protocol.
Sure.
For just any enlisted guy to show up at my door and, we're going to call the MPs. So thanks, but no thanks. No, we can't do that." And all of a sudden, and I said, "But General," and it's, and everyone's like going, "Paul, enough." And the general's wife asked me, "Well, who's the chef?" "Chef Rick Tarantino." And the general dropped his head, shook his head. "General, do you know that name?" "Yeah, we just bought his cookware a couple nights ago." I went, "That's the guy. How about we do a dinner and that guy will do the cooking?" "Well, no promises, but I'll ask the boss." I thought he was talking about freaking president. Turned out it was Commandant Amos. And Commandant Amos, the Marine Corps Commandant, loved the idea. A year later, we're at Cherry Point, North Carolina for our first Heroes Dinner at General John Dog Davis's quarter. 3 years later, we're now doing our 5th Heroes Dinner. And mind you, at the time, it was just me and my American Express that was taking care of everything.
Yeah.
But on January 30th, 2013, we're doing our 5th Heroes Dinner. And after all the young Marines and the spouses left, we're outside having a scotch and cigar there at Cherry Point, North Carolina again. And the general that night was rather aloof, hadn't said a whole lot. I asked him, "So Glenn, what's going on?" He didn't answer me. "General, oh yeah, Paul, what's going on? You've been quiet all night." "Paul, lost 3 Marines today, and the thing is, the only ones that will know about them are their mommies and daddies and fellow Marines." "Paul, America's not at war." "What?" "It's 2013. America's not at war. America's at the mall." Jesse, that was a statement right there that pierced my heart, pierced my spirit.
Yeah.
I knew these dinners were amazing. They were wonderful. What a great way to, to honor our active duty military.
This was the lightning bolt moment because
That was the
all the
lightning.
story you've told so far is I want to help out somehow. I'm not sure what that looks like, and then he says those words right there.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the statement right there. And the guys that were with me, we left 30 minutes later. I'll never forget the feeling walking out of off that patio into
Yeah.
the house and off to our rental car. It was thick. You could feel the emotion, the anguish
Yeah.
in the general's voice. And I told my guys as we're sitting in the rental car, guys, it's great that we're the food industry. We can feed our troops like this, but we can do more.
Mhm.
And one of the guys repeated back what I said, and it just hit me.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going fishing.
Yeah.
What? Food industry serving heroes, fish, feed a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him to fish, feed him for life.
Yeah.
2:30 in the morning, the ideals, the pillars, the recognition, the health support were formed.
Yeah.
We've since rebranded to Friends in Service of Heroes because it's no longer just a food industry that is pouring in and supporting us.
Yeah.
It's anyone, it's everyone.
Yeah.
And I really think that purpose unites us.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And I think there's a lot of great Americans out there that they would love to serve, find a way to serve. They don't know how.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's important that for us that did not serve, go fishing.
Yeah.
Go find those individuals that
Yeah,
never
and you and I know each other very well. We're very outspoken. If you watch our podcast as we continue to make these, you'll learn a lot about fish and about who is comprises the different folks that help out here, and you'll find that it's very much a faith-based organization in a lot of ways.
That's
we
the
don't put
secret
it on
sauce.
we don't put it on our website necessarily.
Yep.
But our faith in a higher power is really what gives us hope and the motivation to keep doing this mission. And what struck me when I first met you was that comment about we're going fishing for men. And my first thought was in the Gospels of Jesus when he tells Matthew, "I'll make you fisher of men," basically. And that's really in a lot of ways what we're doing. There's people that need help. They need some sort of saving, if you will. And let's face it, some of us work for the government. I worked for the government for 20 years. In a lot of ways, it's a noble enterprise, but in a lot of ways, it's a bureaucracy that's cold and hard. It doesn't really care about people necessarily when it's gotten its 20 pounds of flesh out of you.
Mm.
And that's one of the things we're going to unpack here as we continue to do this podcast is to bring awareness not to just what F.I.S.H's mission doing, but we're going to share some stories about veterans, about experiences, because these are all human beings. They're all people that have stories, they have families, and in a lot of ways they've kind of been left out in the cold. And the government, even though it's necessary, it's vital to the security of our nation. The military is really good about taking care of people and giving them the greatest training in the world and providing for them when they're in service. But once you're done and your service is over, it's kind of like you're kind of on your own in a lot of ways, even with the most well-intentioned programs out there. So that's what struck me when I met you. We were at Union Station here in Kansas City. If you're not from here, it's kind of the place where everything happens in Kansas City. When the Chiefs win a Super Bowl or there's some sort of celebratory thing, Union Station, the old train station here, is where we do that. And we had an event for the new Top Gun Maverick movie, new at the time, and I was speaking at that, and that's when you came up to me, and you slid a fish coin, in my hand. And you shook my hand,
Yeah.
and I think you said something to the effect of like, "Hey, you want to help me go fishing for people?" And I was intrigued. And that's kind of where the friendship started,
Yeah.
and my very very meager contribution to fish began as well. So that's quite a story to go from, hey, I want to help, to this encounter
Mhm.
that was just like a bolt of lightning, almost just change the course of your life. So that was 2011, you said, or no,
Started
2013.
Yeah, started
Okay.
feeding our troops in 2010.
Yeah.
But 501c3, it happened. It started in 2013. And, I mentioned earlier about how I was walked to the front of the line,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
I've been that guy all my life, as someone has stuttered all of his life. I love sports. I was a pretty decent athlete, but unless I kept my football helmet on or my tennis racket in front of my face, I couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be a fly on the wall. People saw me when I was on the playing field.
Yeah.
But once that uniform came off, I was a nobody, and I would rather disappear in the background. I feel as though a lot of our vets are the same way. When they're in uniform, everybody sees you. Everybody knows who you are. One of our nation's defenders.
Mm-hmm.
But then once that uniform comes off, sometimes they begin to wonder if their service even mattered.
Yeah.
And part of F.I.S.H's mission is to remind them that you matter. You're not done yet. You still got a lot to do. You are one of our nation's defenders, and so come on. I need you from the back of the line. Let's go. Here's where you deserve to be, in the front of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
And help us. And we always tell them, everyone that we've served, now it's time for you to help us go find the next person to serve.
Absolutely.
Let's go fishing.
Absolutely.
Get in a boat, grab an oar, and help us go fishing.
So let's talk about that, because I want the folks that are listening to this to understand some of the ways that we do make a difference. And we've really focused on veterans that are struggling, right?
Mhm.
Veterans that maybe they're going through a mental health crisis, maybe, and it could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because of their wartime experiences. It could be because of that loss of kind of self-worth that the military brought them, that now it's gone from their life, that feeling of camaraderie that's now
Mhm.
gone. I can speak from my own experience. I've had a lot of jobs in corporate America and whatnot since my time in the military. And even though I work with great people now, there is a sense of loss of that camaraderie that does not exist anywhere else,
Yeah.
anywhere else in the world. And it's tough some days. And but there's guys out there struggling. What are some of the ways that Fish have helped some of these people
Yeah.
here?
So we've been able to provide, one of the big things that we've done, Jesse, is we've provided these service dogs. These service dogs are not just life changers; they're life savers.
Yeah.
Not only is it good for the veteran, but if they're married, it is wonderful for the relationships.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen time and time again how the marriages and the relationships have been healed because of this dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dog is going to help get the vet off the couch, out of the house, and engaged.
Mm-hmm.
We need to keep moving.
And how much that you told me this once? How much does it cost to train a service dog?
$10,000 to $12,000.
$10,000 to $12,000 to train a service dog, right? And that is purely from the donations and the
Mhm.
good, basically charitable contributions that people
Right.
give to Fish that will help make that happen,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've given away 42 of those.
That's unbelievable.
42 of these life changers, life savers. And I'm telling you what, I heard it best once from one of my vets that said, "This isn't a dog. This is an angel with fur."
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true, because I've seen it time and time again. To see someone that considers themselves broken,
Mm-hmm.
I can't be fixed. I'm broken.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone. That's not how it works with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna do life with you. We're gonna stay on you. So it's not one and done, because you said something earlier. You've in the private sector, you've worked with great companies, great people, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's different because you know that they don't have your six for the most part.
Yeah.
In the military,
It's very
someone
self-interested.
was always
It's very
exactly.
self-interested. In
Someone
fact,
always had your back.
that's
in the
funny you
military.
mentioned that, because I was one of the most naive people in corporate America. I went out and I got into a job in finance. Was my first job out of the Navy, and I remember thinking, "Oh, we're all for one for all here, right?" And I had a gal who worked in the cubicle next to me in my first job. She says, "Honey, you've got a lot to learn." And everybody here is for themselves.
Right.
They may smile to you,
Right.
they may pat you on the back, but in the end, everyone here is
Yeah.
here to get theirs. And to a certain extent, that's kind of what you need in a capitalist society. But it's a shock to the system
Yeah.
for someone who just always was in an environment where everyone was just backing
Right.
each other up.
Well, a friend of mine that I've known since I was a kid, General Tommy Franks,
Uh-huh.
had a famous expression: "One team, one fight."
Yeah.
And that it's always something that has resonated in my little brain, because I think about the family that I have that have served, and that's one of the things that they always talked about. My guys, they're always there.
Yeah.
It was one team, my team. And when you disconnect from your team, you wonder, geez, where's my support system? Where are my guys? Where are my people?
Yeah.
Where's my tribe?
Yeah.
And that's what Fish has become. It's become a tribe. And what's also really different about Fish is the fact that, all these other organizations out there always talk about post 9/11, post 9/11, post 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these organizations, they came about because of 9/11.
Yeah.
I get it, post 9/11.
Yeah.
But what about all those other veterans, from World War II?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're celebrating this coming month, September, a 100-year-old World War II Army Air Corps gunner. He was on a B-24 and B-17 as a waist gunner, flew 25 missions,
Mhm.
celebrating 100 years. three individuals actually that really impacted my life as fish started going was a guy named E.W. Thomas, went by Buddy, a street rat from Chicago that had never had a good meal. He once told me, but when we got attacked, he decided that, you know what, I'm going to join the military, and the Marines have the best uniform, and if I can actually get a free train ticket instead of hopping a train, I get a free train ticket to Kansas City. I've never been to Kansas City, and enlisted Marine Corps there, and then they sent me on another train to San Diego. Buddy joined the Marine Corps and was on the first landing on Saipan. 18 days later, a sniper shot him through the head. Admiral Nimitz pinned his Purple Heart on him. People like Buddy, people like Jerry Ingram. Jerry was 15 and a half years old when he joined the Marine Corps. 15 and a half years old. Where these guys come from?
Yeah.
At 16 and a half, almost 17, he was the commander of a tank on Iwo Jima, the first landing, called Jungle Jim, and was one of the few tanks that survived the battle. Max DeWeese, 100 years old, just passed away July of last year. And Max was on the first landing of Guadalcanal.
Yeah.
My buddy Max right here.
Yeah.
I don't know if the camera can see that. Max, Max was a flamethrower.
Yeah.
And, you know, he did a lot of Marine Corps things, went to all the Marine Corps birthdays and yada, yada. But it wasn't until he got involved with Fish that he started really sharing his stories.
Yeah.
And Max is kind of the reason why we started a program that we do every third Thursday called the Fish Speaker Series, where men and women that have served our country, that raised their right hand, can find a safe place where they can finally unpack that rucksack and stop carrying those stones, that the burden.
Yeah, in an environment that is very much wants to hear that.
That wants to hear it.
That is friendly, that is safe, that is ready to receive that message.
And the thing is, it's not just cathartic and healing for the person speaking, but the audience. A lot of the men and women that are in that audience can now say, look, I'm listening to a guy or gal share their story with this type of transparency. I need to unpack I need to stop carrying this too.
Yeah.
And time again, they'll come up and say, I'm ready to tell my story. Yeah. Very healing. In this picture, also got a buddy of ours, Rick, Doc Puska, Vietnam veteran, Gunny, Mark McMahon, and some other civilian buddies of mine. But
yeah, and folks, you're going to meet Doc here eventually.
You'll meet Doc. That'll be a story right there.
Agenda.
Yeah.
You're going to want to meet Doc.
Absolutely. But it's because of these men and women that sometimes, it's felt to me that they were forgotten, neglected.
Yeah.
Anytime we have an event and I ask for volunteers, it just always blows my mind, Jesse. It's always the Vietnam vets that say, here I am.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of background of Fish. And the reason we wanted to do this in this podcast, kind of give you an idea of kind of the heart and the soul of what this podcast is going to be about. That guys like Paul here, that really just have a heart for helping veterans, for fishing for folks that need help out there. That's really why we're doing this and why we decided to start this podcast. And really, what the aim of this is going to be is we're going to come and we're going to hear stories. We're going to give people the chance to share their stories. Similar to kind of that cathartic experience, not just for the benefit of the veteran, maybe that we may get in here on the show to sit in and talk about it, but also for folks out there that just want to know more. Maybe you want to help. Maybe you want to understand more what it's like for somebody that's
freedom's not free, and there's a lot of great stories that we need to share. People need to share them.
Yes.
Vets need to share them, and the community needs to hear them.
They do, absolutely. So, folks, thanks for sticking with us here on the first pilot edition, if you will, of the Fish Podcast, Friends in Service of Heroes. Stay tuned to us. We're going to have a lot of great guests coming up here as we move forward and we make more episodes. Paul, I love you, man.
Thanks, Jesse. Love you back, brother.
It's good to see you.